Yeah. Welcome to the Town of Emmitsburg Town Meeting for the evening of Monday, November 4th, 2024. At this time, I'd ask you to please silence your cell phones of any rings, beeps, online gaming, you name it. If it's going to make a noise, just put it on vibrate. Thank you. And then at this time, I'd like to please invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quick announcement before we get started. Commissioner Turnquist will not be with us tonight. And I'm not sure if Mayor Davis is on. Not yet. Okay. If he said he was going to try to log in. If he does, just yeah, let us know. All right. Thank you. So future meetings include a workshop meeting on November 18th at 6:30 here in the town office and on Zoom. Parks and Rec Committee meeting November 19th at 7:30 here in the town office. We have the Christmas tree lighting in the front of the Emmitsburg Community Building at 6:15 coming up on, I don't have a date.
December 2nd.
December 2nd. And then, of course, after that, Carriage House has festivities that you can go partake in after that. We also have a Board of Commissioners meeting December 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. here in the town office and on Zoom. All right. Are there any other meetings?
I believe there's going to be a Planning Commission meeting November 25th at 7 p.m.
Okay. November 25th. Okay, so Planning Commission meeting. Thank you. All right. Any other meetings we need to be announced? I think we're good. All right. So moving on to approving the minutes for October 7th and October 22nd. Commissioner Hagan, I believe you had a request.
Yeah, I just had for two corrections. If you go to page 9 and down at the bottom for agenda item 5, that was a unanimous vote, 5-0. And next on page 11, it had me bringing the motion and seconding my own motion. That's all that I had.
What item? I'm sorry.
It's right at the stop on page 11. It's the very first paragraph.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, okay. Where I brought the motion and seconded my
Yes, I see that you split yourself in half. Yes.
So the only thing that I would say, Commissioner Bowman-Pollitt, is I actually asked Sabrina to go back and listen to agenda item number 5 on the vote.
Mm-hmm.
And Commissioner Hagan, you did not vote.
Okay.
So, because I was surprised too,
Yeah.
And I had her go back and listen to it. So that part's correct. And then I didn't hear what you said on page 11.
On page 11, the very first paragraph, it has that I made the motion and then I seconded my own motion.
Oh yeah, that won't work. So who actually made the motion? You did? Okay, Hoover. Okay. Thank you.
I did have a couple of additions that I wanted to send to town staff for consideration to add into one on each set of the meeting minutes. So I was going to ask if we could table these until next time, until I can get those. I can collaborate with Ms. Willits on adding that section. Commissioners, how do you feel about that?
Fine with it.
I'm fine.
Okay. Is there a motion to table the meeting minutes until our next meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries with 4 ayes and Commissioner Turnquist is absent. All right. Then we are moving on to our police report.
Good evening. Still myself and Deputy Bartholow, we used 6 holiday days of leave during the month of October. There's no staffing changes. Myself and Deputy Bartholow both had in-service training. We both had Police One training online. We had no issues with Halloween. That was a good night. I also just wanted to note there, I didn't have this down here, but we were made aware that crosswalks are really busy after school, which we have been patrolling more. No fleet issues with our cars. We handled 129 calls for service. We had 2 arrests, 16 traffic stops. There was a large fight on South Seaton Avenue at 133 South Seaton. That's being handled. I'm pretty sure the people that live there are moving. So that should be clearing up soon. There was another assault this last Saturday, and charges are being filed for first-degree assault.
That's separate from the one at 133.
It is.
Okay,
This other one was the same people, but over in the park.
I see.
So,
Okay.
and that is all I have for you.
Oh, okay. Couple questions. As far as the traffic stops, do you see any pattern as far as where your
Most of our traffic stops are either going to be on Main Street or South Seaton or North Seaton,
okay.
and it's most likely for speed.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do
But
you,
it can range from all kinds of things, lights out,
I see.
all kinds of different.
I'm sure like you're probably pretty busy.
We do a
Um,
lot of speed enforcement though.
Yeah. And do you use radar?
We do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further questions?
I just have one.
I'm sorry,
I got
Commissioner
an
Singh.
email of why I was at church on Sunday at 10:30 mass. A bike was stolen. Somebody rode a bike to church and it was stolen
Okay,
outside the church. I didn't know if you got that or not.
I didn't, what church is it?
St. Joe's.
Okay,
It was,
Deputy Bartholow might have got.
yeah, it
that.
might have been. It's a ward. I just got the email tonight. So,
Okay. If you want to forward that to me,
okay.
make sure we get it.
Yeah, I had a couple parents reach out about the students in the alleyway down here going to see it and saying that people tend to be running the stop signs or speeding down there.
Yeah,
So
we
I'm
were
concerned
made
about
aware of that. And we've been doing some traffic stops.
Okay.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the town manager's report, Ms. Willetts.
Good evening. This is the town manager's report for September. I'll just highlight some areas related to streets. Staff painted all the parking meter poles on East and West Main Street. They also mowed, trimmed, and weed killed along Irishtown Road, the area of Waycross Court to Brookfield Drive, repaired 2 manhole lids on Timber Mill Run, and the contractor blacktopped a water leak patch on Federal Avenue as well as a sewer line patch. Related to parks, staff trimmed tree limbs and shrubs around the walking trail bridge in E. Eugene Myers Park. They also washed and cleaned the picnic tables in both park pavilions. Staff worked with the contractor to install the new electronic locking doors on both park restroom buildings. They are operational now. Related to wastewater, we treated an average of 641,065 gallons per day and consumed roughly 283,896 gallons, which meant 55.71% of the wastewater treated in the month of September was wild water. We had no spills of untreated sewage. We did exceed the plant's design capacity 7 days that month. In September, we received 4.8 inches of precipitation. We had 12 days of rain. We, at the time of this report, had a precipitation surplus of only 0.94 inches. And I don't believe we received much in October either. Rainbow Lake, at the time of the report, was 2 feet or 2 inches below the spillway level at 16.4. It's currently, as of today, at 16.3 feet. You'll see the well depths on page 20 related to water production and consumption. We produced an average 284,221 gallons, and again, we consumed 283,896, which meant the amount of backwash water in the month of August was 8.22%, with 70% coming from the wells and 30% coming from the lake. Trash pickup will remain on Mondays during the month of November. You'll see some of the meetings I attended in September. One thing, staff worked the yard waste dumpster twice, and it should read September, not November. Staff and contractor fixed a water leak on the 8-inch main line on Federal Avenue. Staff continues to meet with the Rainbow Lake Dam engineer to review drawings and tow drains. I believe we have a meeting with them coming up in the near future to review their report and their findings of all their inspections. Staff assisted with the water leak at Daughters of Charity. We completed the lead line service inventory for all the town-owned properties. The town received heavy rain in the month of September. However, the capacity at the wastewater treatment plant is doing very well. We did not have any overflows, and temporary bypass at the pump station is performing well. The town received 9 additional smart manhole covers, and our contractor is finishing the backwash project at the water plant. And that's my report.
Thank you. Questions regarding the town manager report? Nope, nope, nope. Just a quick little tiny one. With the locking doors that were installed and now are operational, I know you mentioned this before at a previous meeting and I forgot. Do we know the times that it's open or what it's programmed to?
So right now it's programmed from 8 a.m. to 9, 8 to 8.
Okay.
In the winter, once we winterize all the bathrooms, it'll go back to 8 to 7 p.m.
Okay.
The time change. And then, is that correct, Jess?
Yes.
Okay. And then in the summer, they'll go to about 9:30 in the evening.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's exciting. All right. Any other questions, comments? No?
No.
Okay. We are moving on. Next is the grant administrator report. Ms. Shaw.
Good evening. This is the grants administrator report as of October 29th on page 22 in the packet. I currently have 16 active grants, 5 grants waiting for an award or denial, and then 3 grant applications upcoming or that I'm waiting kind of to open. A few project highlights. For the bathroom concession stand project, the prefabricated bathroom building is scheduled to be delivered the week of November 18th. The site is ready for the building aside from Potomac Edison installing the transformer. The water clarifier project, the contractor Conwego is currently working clearing the site. For the Rainbow Lake parking lot construction, the site has been staked and we are waiting for the contractor to begin work any day now. When I spoke with the contractor last week, they were waiting to do a pre-construction meeting with Frederick County to finalize the grading permit, and then they're going to break ground hopefully this week. For the replacement of the DePaul Street water line, an update will be provided during agenda item number 1 tonight. For the Welcome to Emmitsburg signs, the contractor is waiting on State Highway to approve the sign design and issue a community gateway sign permit, which was submitted last week. The application was, once the permit is issued, it will take approximately 10 weeks for fabrication and installation. For the Creamery Road pump station, the prefabricated building has been installed and the project is expected to be completed by February 14th. And then the Red Trail rebuild in the watershed, the contractor has completed approximately 40% of the project and is planning to take a break during the rifle hunting season due to hunting being allowed in the watershed. The contractor will resume after the holidays and construction will be completed by April 1st. And then my meetings I attended in October are listed. Are there any questions?
I do have questions, but I'd like to ask the other commissioners first, if you have any questions. I saw that the meeting about the Electric Vehicle Institute possibility of adding level 3 chargers behind the town office. I just wanted to know what that was.
Sure. There is a grant due this week with Sustainable Maryland. And one of the possibilities we were looking at, or one of the projects was putting level 3 fast charging stations in town. But I had like an initial consultation call with EVI who installed what we currently have back there
Mhm.
to see if it was possible, how much it would cost, things like that. And so that was what that meeting was about.
So that would be in addition to what we already have.
It would, but after having our meeting and talking with Kathy and the mayor, we decided not to pursue it because it's pretty expensive. It would be a huge shortfall in funding.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know that this is a lot of grants that you're juggling at one time and you're bringing a lot of money to the town. So I want to thank you for all your hard work
Mhm.
and
My pleasure.
time. So it's always a pleasure to see you. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on to town operations specialist report.
I have her report if anybody has any questions on it or wants me just to highlight real quick.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So she did the drawing today for the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I believe pretty much everybody came in and picked up their winnings from the raffles. She's still working on the tally to find out how much the town actually raised. The turkey trot registration is open. We've shared some flyers all over the place and former Commissioner O'Donnell has offered if we do some flyers, he'll take them around to all the libraries. So that seems to be going very well. We are currently working on the emergency preparedness plan, emergency action plan. It's just more updates. And then the board will have to formally, it has to be approved or adopted by the board every 5 years.
Mhm.
So we're looking to bring that to the board after the first of the year, after the holidays.
Okay.
She has a meeting with the mayor on November 13th for the churches and nonprofits to discuss weekly hot meals to go and a community events calendar. She, along with the town planner, attended the Maryland Main Street Conference on October 8th. And she is working through some FEMA courses on emergency preparedness.
Perfect. Thank you. I do know she's dressing up as a turkey for the turkey trot, correct?
That is correct. She dressed up as a turkey for Halloween in here as well. If anybody didn't see the
Okay.
pictures.
She's breaking in those feathers.
Yes.
I know if there's any volunteer who wants to dress up as the pilgrim and chase her around, she thinks that will add to the
That was hilarious.
festive fun. So just putting that out there. All right.
The meeting on the 13th is 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Or the
No,
nonprofits.
6:30.
6:30 on November
you, Jess.
13th. Thank you for clarification. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on. Looking for the town planners report.
Good evening. This is the town planners report. During the month of September. Sorry, it should be October. We processed 8 zoning permit applications related to development updates. Federal Stone is under construction and it has made significant progress. Their warehouse and office building, they've made significant progress on those. I know they're awaiting some framing and ceiling and building installation inspections, and we provided them information regarding their signage. I'll skip down to the Mount St. Mary University School of Health Professions. The project is complete and we're awaiting as-built. Light inspections were today. It was actually today at 4:30, and we should be getting that report soon. For Emmitsburg Distillery, we provided a bunch more comments to the developer, and the applicant has yet to finish addressing the county's comments. I'll skip on to Emmett Ridge. The developer has been provided with the APFO application and HOA information, and that's something they're working on. And we had a short discussion regarding the requirements for Irishtown Road. And we did do some extensive research to see what was required by the town before as a condition of approval back in 1995, but that doesn't apply anymore. Yeah. And then for North Eden Avenue, Green Street project, the plans have been, they're still under review. We got some comments back from the engineer, and we actually presented the project at the Hazard Mitigation and Climate Adaptation Plan annual stakeholder meeting, and people seem to really like it. Some people also asked for copies of the concept plan. Another one I want to mention is the solar panels on Daughters of Charity's property. The property is technically outside of town limits, but the interconnection point is within town limits. So they do need a zoning permit, and that was issued last week or the week before. I'll skip down to stormwater management. The MS4 annual report was submitted on October 29th. And another one I want to mention is that the stormwater utility fee, we have a formal process for those who think their fee should be adjusted. So we received one adjustment application, and that's been processed. Basically, the fee doesn't apply to properties that are outside of town limits. So we made that correction, and so.
Oh, great, thank you.
Planning Commission, I'll leave that for Commissioner Hoover, and the comprehensive plan, I'll be presenting that tonight.
Mhm.
And for grants, the IIJA DNR grant, the progress report was submitted last month along with another invoice. And we coordinated with Glow Fiber regarding their permitting requirements for street closure. And I have listed the meetings that I've attended during the month of October.
Thank you very much. Questions, Commissioner Hagan?
I noticed in the meetings you met with rain drain escapes. Any chance we can lure them out of Gettysburg to Emmitsburg?
We're working on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I just have one quick one. Regarding Village Liquors Plaza Inn, is that still happening, or I thought it wasn't happening and now it is?
Yeah, we thought it was happening, but since they renewed their grading permit, I believe they have plans to do this in the future, but they may not have the capital to move forward at this time.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Any other questions? Okay. We are moving on to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Hagan.
Last Saturday, I had the pleasure of attending the Seton Center's 55th anniversary gala event. So they're switching over to lay management to the organization, and they've laid out some pretty hopeful plans for the coming years, such as daycare centers and additional food bank. And they'll present more at the meeting on the 13th here, but they have some really broad goals that I think that will be helpful to the community. And just wanted to remind, tomorrow is election day. If you have not voted, get out and vote. It doesn't matter who you support or if you're going to vote the entire ballot. What's important is you get out there and vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Sweeney?
Yeah, I agree. Make sure you come out and vote tomorrow. I'd like to thank everybody for Halloween. Everything went really well for the Halloween celebration we had on the town with all the organizations helping the town, the fire company, the VFW, the Legion, the Knights of Columbus, the Lions Club, the police department. Everyone worked together and we had a good event, and it was really busy this year. It's our best year we've had for a while. And the weather helped too. So it was nice. So thanks for everybody for their help. And the next community town party will be Christmas, December the 14th, Saturday from 10 to 1 at the activities building and at the fire company's activities building on Creamery Road from 10 to 1. And that's a town Christmas party with Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus and the food and activities for them to do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoover.
We did have the planning and zoning meeting with, on October 28th. It was a very brief, short meeting, but we did talk a little bit about the municipal growth section for the future boundaries possibilities and transportation section. Just more of a brief overview, very briefly. No real questions, comments that were discussed there. Everybody seemed to be happy with what we have going on, what the town planner has done. She's doing a good job, and our meeting lasted about 17 minutes, so not a whole lot to discuss of it. But for the future meeting in December 3rd, I think it is, I may not be in attendance. That's it.
December 3rd.
Is that a town meeting?
Oh, oh, you mean the Board of Commissioners meeting? Yes, okay. All right. Yeah, all right, thank you. As far as my comments go, I want to echo what Commissioner Sweeney said as far as thank you to all town staff and all the different organizations that help make Halloween a success for our kids and adults and everyone who wanted to partake in the festivities. Also, actually, I should have asked this. It looks like we have a business, Emmitsburg Mini Mart, that's now where the Valero used to be. I'm sorry, I didn't ask about that.
Right. Well, it's outside of town limits.
Oh,
but
that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But there
Valero.
is
yeah. They're
Emmitsburg Mini Mart, and they're open.
Yep.
Yes, right there as you come into town. Thank you. Sorry about that. And then also, I believe we have several vacancies for Parks and Rec and Citizens Advisory Committee meetings. So a lot of that depends on public support, resident support, volunteers who are hoping to make a difference and want their voices heard. So if you are interested, we do have spots available. How would they go about doing that? Do they email the town directly?
They can email Sabrina or anybody at the town,
Mhm.
and then we typically send that over to the mayor and whoever the committee liaison is, and they should reach out. And if it's a match, then it'll come to the board for approval.
Okay, perfect. And then just a small reminder too, all of us around town, we do have people stop us along the way and tell us what they think and have opinions and concerns, and we want you to bring your voices forth. So please, for not so much talking to people here in the seats, but people out there, if please come to the town meetings, speak at public comment, email the town council. We want to hear your feedback in a way that we can use and collaborate here at not only up here for town council, but also with our residents. So please spread the word. And that's all I have. I believe we have Mayor Davis on the line if he has any mayor comments.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I really don't have anything. It's just been a real busy month, and you all have touched on just about everything. So that's all I got, and we can keep on going.
Thank you. Okay. And with that, we're moving on to administrative business. For consideration, free holiday metered parking with all proceeds being donated to the Emmitsburg Food Bank. We don't have to vote on this, correct? It's administrative.
Oh.
We do.
Public comment?
Did I skip that? Oh my gosh. I was so excited about free holiday parking. I'm sorry, I'll backtrack. Public comment. We have 2 for public comment. When your name is called, you can come up to the microphone, press the button so it turns red, and you have 4 minutes to speak, and you can watch the timer in front to see how much time you have left. First up, we have Mr. Jack Weller.
Hello. I don't know if anybody read the paper, but
I'm going to stop you just for a minute. Can you state your name and whether you live in or outside town limits?
I live. My name's Jack Weller. I live outside the town limits.
Perfect.
Thank
you.
I'm not a town resident. On the November 2024 Totten Banner, the headline there on the one page was Emmitsburg goes dry. And they were talking about 50 years ago in 1974, when the lake was down evidently 5 feet, which I thought wasn't that much further down than what it was last year, which I'm pretty sure was 3.5 feet. But anyway, I was just amazed at the darn thing. They had to pump water from another lake or another reservoir into it to get it up to snuff. And then, of course, the Mount was asked to extend their Thanksgiving break so that they use less water. But anyway, I just couldn't believe that the darn thing was down that far. That's all. And that was the first thing. And the second thing was Mayor Davis made a comment. I think it was just last meeting that there's a building in town that he would like to condemn, but he said he couldn't do it. And so I was wondering why he doesn't get any support for this. That's all, because that's what he said. There's no support for it. And of course, he's not here.
He hears you though.
Oh,
Yeah.
and my third thing and last was that I agree with the column writer who also, and I think that was in the other paper, the Emmitsburg free paper, about the apathy and the fact that if you talk to the people on the town council, they listen to you. I agree with that 100%. I just wanted to also make a mention that the man's writing is pretty good, I think, and I do read it. Okay, that's all.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Mr. Eric Sloan.
Eric Sloan. I live here in town. This is in references. How much of a mess is the next increment for the water bill going to make? Because I hear from various people that it doesn't matter, and I hear from other people that they're running awry of being able to buy food, pay their rent because the price of everything has gone up, and it is just a standard of business. It costs more to get it out of the ground. It costs more to get it to the people, so the prices are going to go up. And in the future, 1 or 2% increase every year would be a whole lot better than having villagers with pitchforks and torches as the old movies that have it. And as far as the looking forward into the next couple of years for, our dream list of things to do, a more serious view of what it's going to take to maintain the failing infrastructure of the town. Because the sewer line that runs from where I live down to the pump station was put in during the Civilian Conservation Corps. It's 4 foot long clay and slip, and it's not going to take a whole lot longer before it needs to be replaced. And that's probably one of the newer sections. We're going to end up looking like Tawny Town did for a couple of years with everything all dug the heck up, and it's just going to be something to live with. You can't live in a town and not deal with it. And the last bit is, does the Mount have any way to monitor their first year students that are living in town? Because there was a batch of them came down Lincoln, down Creamery, went over to the Dollar General, left there, sat down at the ice cream shop. When they left the ice cream shop, they were throwing all kinds of stuff at my fence and screaming at my dogs. And when I reminded them that animal cruelty in the state is a felony offense with a bunch of F words and F bombs, and they took off back wherever they came from. Now, somebody needs to hold their hand because their parents can't do it anymore. And if it ends up being the sheriff's system for them throwing debris and stuff, I don't think their parents are going to be all too fired happy when Johnny comes home because the Mount threw him out because he's facing criminal charges for animal abuse. So, to get with the Mount or whatever and say, take care of this and keep it out of the whole juris system and keep it quiet and safe would be good. That's all.
Thank you. And I do think Mayor Davis is working collaboratively with Mount St. Mary's to address some of those issues, as well as trying to create more of a positive relationship, and he's met with him several times, and we'll make sure to, he probably hears us, to pass that along. Thank you. All right, now that concludes public comments. So now we can move on to administrative business for consideration, free holiday metered parking with all proceeds being donated to the Emmitsburg Food Bank. So is there a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Any further? Well, there's no discussion, it's administrative. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 4 with 1 absent. All right. Moving on to consent agenda, item number 1. For consideration, approval of the proclamation for MML Municipal Government Works Month. So before we approve that, I will go ahead and read the proclamation, which states, Proclamation, Municipal Government Works Month, November 2024. The mayor and the Board of Commissioners of the town of Emmitsburg proclaim November 2024 to be Municipal Government Works Month. Whereas the town was established in 1785, and whereas Maryland is home to 157 other municipalities, and whereas municipal government represents the most responsive level of government, allowing citizens to have direct access to elected officials, and whereas in an effort to educate citizens about municipal government and the importance of their participation, the town of Emmitsburg is proud to promote municipal government awareness, and whereas municipalities have enhanced the quality of life for their respective residents, maintaining natural and historic sites and structures, and helping to make Maryland a great place to live, work, play, and explore. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and the Board of Commissioners of the town of Emmitsburg, Maryland, do hereby join the Maryland Municipal League in declaring November 2024 to be Municipal Government Works Month in Emmitsburg, which would be adopted today, November 4th, 2024. All in favor, please say, oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to accept the proclamation? Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries with 4 to 1 abstain, or 1 who is absent. The next 2 for our consent agenda, we can take together if that works for the commissioners, which is for consideration, accept the resignation of Wayne Slaughter and Sandy Slaughter from the Citizens Advisory Committee, and for consideration, appoint Wendy Hagan to the Parks and Recreation Committee with a term of November 4th, 2024 to November 4th, 2026. Are you okay with taking both of those together?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Is there a motion?
You have to abstain. Commissioner Hagan needs to abstain.
Thank you.
So you need to take.
So we'll have to take them separately.
Yes.
All right. So is there a motion to accept the resignation of Wayne Slaughter and Sandy Slaughter from the Citizens Advisory Committee?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4 with 1 absent. And the next one, for consideration, appoint Wendy Hagan to the Parks and Recreation Committee with a term of November 4th, 2024 to November 4th, 2026. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries with 3 ayes, 1 abstain,
Yes.
and
One up.
1 absent. All right, moving on to the treasurer's report. Do you want to do a brief overview?
I can.
Yeah.
So the cash activity report as of October 25th, 2024 You'll see the cash balance on the first was about 8.6 million. We had deposits a little over 700,000 and withdrawals of roughly 800,000. The operating balance forward was 8.5 million. You'll see the top 10 checks that were issued in the month of October. And then you'll have the fund breakdown for as of 10/25 of 24. General fund with roughly 2 million, capital projects roughly 600,000, stormwater management, and that's because we have not received any fees yet because the bills are still coming in, is a negative 4,000. The water is at a negative 88,000. ARPA has roughly 2.5 million and sewer has roughly 3.3 million.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none, we are moving on. Thank you, Ms. Willetts. I believe we've already hit the planning commission report with your comments, so we can move on from that. And moving on to agenda item number 1, community development block grant, public hearing to provide information on the progress on the DePaul Street waterline replacement project. So we need a motion to
Went to the hearing.
go into the hearing.
I move.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-1 absent. Okay, so we have a public hearing to discuss the town of Emmitsburg's state fiscal year 2024 community development block grant project, and it is starting as of right now. I always start with, has the hearing been properly advertised?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone who intends to provide testimony during this public hearing? If so, would they normally sign up on public comment for that? Is there anybody here for public comment regarding the hearing? Okay. Was that a yes? No? Okay. All right. So we don't have to have anybody do the oath. All right, so we're going to take it over to the staff to do a brief presentation.
All right, thank you. And the map is on the screen of the project location on DePaul Street. So this public hearing was advertised in English and Spanish as required by the grant in the Frederick News Post on October 21st. The hearing was also advertised on the town website, Channel 99, and the November email newsletter. It was posted at the front window of the town office, and it was posted on Facebook in English and Spanish on October 18th. The community development block grant recipients are required to conduct 2 public hearings, one before the application is submitted, which we held on June 5th, 2023, and one during the implementation of the grant, which we are holding tonight. We are required to provide the public information on the progress of the grant funded project, and also give the public an opportunity to provide comment. The town was awarded a $552,500 community development block grant to fund a portion of the DePaul Street waterline replacement project. The total project cost is $1,243,188. Funding for the project is being provided by the community development block grant from the state, a fiscal year 24 capital budget grant from MDE, American Rescue Plan monies, and then there's a $10,000 in-kind town contribution. When the project is completed, approximately 2,340 feet of 8-inch ductile iron waterline will be replaced. The town awarded the construction contract to Huntsberry Brothers, Inc. on April 1st, 2024. Notice to proceed was issued July 22nd, and construction began on August 16th. To date, the contractor has completed the water line replacement between North Seaton Avenue to St. Joseph's Lane on DePaul Street. The contractor is currently working on the St. Joseph's Lane to Federal Avenue portion. $271,449 has been paid to the contractor. To date, no issues have occurred. One complaint has been received, and that was about parking for the project. The project is within budget, and the project is on schedule and expected to be completed by April 15th, 2025. Any complaints and grievances related to this project may be submitted at any time to myself. I can be contacted by phone at 240-741-2137 or by email at mshaw@emmitsburgmd.gov. Or you can also contact me by visiting the town office located here at 300A South Seaton Avenue. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any questions for the staff from board members? Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah, had some questions from the residents. When the construction gets to the end of DePaul Street, they were saying, how are they going to get out and parking down there? Is there a plan for that, or we don't know yet?
They've typically kept at least one lane open for traffic. And if I recall correctly, there should be parking allowed on one side of the road. But we have a progress meeting coming up in 2 weeks. We can certainly ask that question and get some more information.
Okay, Commissioner Sweeney.
They'll be working through the winter.
No, their plan is to stop temporarily because of the temporary water line and concerns of it freezing.
I know that when we weren't allowed to have the past November 1st, so I think because of the freezing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're good. Okay. I already asked, but it seems like there's no public comment regarding this hearing. All right. If that's the case, if no one else has anything more to present, public comment is now closed. And we can deliberate, but are we good?
I'm good.
Good. All right. So then we need a motion to end the public hearing. We'll just need a motion to end the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to end the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner Hagan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoover. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-1 absent. Thank you. And moving on to so we do have number 2 that said consideration approval of bid for the town of Emmitsburg sewer line camera project, which has been postponed. Just want to make that announcement. So we're moving on to presentation of the town of Emmitsburg comprehensive plan.
Jay, can I start? So this is a presentation on the current version of the 2025 comprehensive plan, which is a document to guide the community's future development. So to give you some background, jurisdictions are required to adopt comprehensive plans under the Maryland land use article in the Maryland Code of Regulations. In 2013, if you could go to the next slide, the Maryland General Assembly passed a bill to require a 10-year review cycle. So basically every 10 years, a town has to assess what needs to be updated and adopt an updated plan. It's usually the Planning Commission who's in charge of assessing what needs to be updated. And then it's a resolution is adopted by the Board of Commissioners. But we can get into that later. So the requirement is to be 6 years, but now it's 10 years. And the last comprehensive plan was adopted in November of 2015. So we're nearing the 10-year mark since it's almost 2025. So the purpose of this update is to ensure that plans align with current legislations and policies and community needs. Obviously, the population and demographics have evolved since 2015. So the updated plan will allow the town to respond to new housing, infrastructure, and community service needs. The economy has changed over the past decade as well. Environmental conditions have changed and so on. So that's why the plan needs to be updated. So I'll jump right into the current draft, which includes the, next slide, updated information about the town. So this involves various aspects of population, housing, economy, environment, natural resources, land use, and transportation and community facilities. And it integrates the 3 pillars of sustainability. And we've been able to gather a lot of public input through workshops and surveys. It incorporates smart growth elements to create vibrant communities, preserve natural resources, and reduce sprawl. The plan also introduces a new growth boundary and growth opportunity areas, which I'll explain a bit later. So I know the next slide has a list of differences between the old and the new plans, but I can quickly summarize each one of them. So the first main difference is that the older plan, while it emphasizes structured land use, transportation, environmental resource preservation, but community engagement is a little less extensive. The new plan intends to put more emphasis on community-driven goals. Public input has been gathered through multiple workshops and surveys that reflect the town's focus on economic development, environmental sustainability, and inclusivity, which also informed the goals in each section. So the older plan had goals to support local businesses and tourism, and the new plan, we expand on that and add detailed strategies for addressing economic challenges. From the community feedback, we learned about high demand for childcare, diverse retail, etc. But there was also interest in research and development labs, distribution centers, and partnerships to create stable jobs and address economic issues. The previous plan was pretty focused on accommodating growth through single-family housing developments, but the new plan builds on this and expands the housing needs by addressing affordable housing shortage and introduces mixed-use, medium-density housing options. There's emphasis on housing needs of the asset-limited, income-constrained, employed, or also known as ALICE households, mainly since it represents a significant portion of the town's population. The new plan also builds on the older plan's goals of implementing sustainable practices at a community level, involving stream and wetland protection and floodplain management. Another big change is the growth boundary and the growth opportunity area to control sprawl or manage expansion in a balanced way so that the small town character is preserved. There's support for mixed use zones and compact development and a detailed growth boundary to plan for annexation needs. The new plan also talks about infrastructure improvements based on community input, including better parking and accessibility that can support the town's needs. It addresses amenities like childcare, recreational facilities, and programs for businesses and families. And it talks about partnerships with various organizations, including Mount St. Mary's for community resources and workplace development. Excuse me. I'll go over each section that we have, that we provided you copies of tonight. So we named the document Envision Emmitsburg to encapsulate the idea of looking ahead to imagine a better Emmitsburg, one that's prosperous, connected, sustainable, and the name represents a strategic and inclusive approach to planning that reflects the shared goals and values of residents, aiming to guide the town's development in a way that balances economic prosperity, environmental stewardship, and social well-being. So the first section is the introductory chapter, which will be finalized after completing all the other sections. And this approach will help write a complete overview and an accurate summary of the entire plan. And to make sure that it sets the stage for content of the plan, that's why we're waiting until all the other chapters are completed. And this chapter will include the town's background and outline the organization of the plan. It'll also include the state's 12 visions, which was created by Maryland's Planning Visions Law in 2009, and how the plan relates to each vision. So that'll be the first chapter. The second chapter, which you should have gotten a copy of, is the community input and vision, which discusses all public input through workshops and surveys. As you may already know, there were 3 workshops and 4 surveys that were made accessible to the public. 3 of those surveys focused on the 3 pillars of sustainability. And the plan focuses on the 3 pillars of sustainability. It provides a holistic framework for developing communities in a way that ensures long-term well-being and resilience. So there's environmental sustainability, and then economic development and community development. There are sections for each pillar, and they all discuss the participants' views and preferences based on personal experience. So, for example, under economic growth or economic development, there's job growth, support for local businesses, infrastructure improvements, etc. And then under community development, there's discussion regarding community engagement and improving amenities, also affordable housing and poverty alleviation. There's a section for environmental sustainability that addresses preservation, climate change, and awareness and community-led initiatives. So all these are put together to form the vision statements for each of the 3 pillars. And these vision statements are these broad forward-looking statements to guide goals and strategies that are stated in subsequent chapters. Then we have the population and housing chapter, which focuses on the demographics and trends and housing composition in Emmitsburg. And there's a section on population characteristics, age, gender, distribution, housing occupancy, and it also focuses on LS households as a major demographic and their need for affordable housing close to job opportunities. And there's a section with goals, objectives, and strategies, and all the chapters will have, except for the first 2, will have these goals, objectives, and strategies section. The goals in this chapter involve accommodating the population's needs by promoting diverse housing options that support an intergenerational community, catering to residents of all ages, groups, and income levels. Another goal is to develop a land use program to promote infill development. And the third goal is to implement programs and policies to eliminate vacant and blighted buildings that can be transformed into safe, livable housing units. In the packet, you will also see that the goals have objectives and strategies that correspond to each goal. So for example, under the first goal, as I mentioned, accommodating the population's needs by offering diverse housing options that support the intergenerational community, catering to residents of all ages and groups, income levels. The objective here is to increase the diversity of housing types by ensuring that at least a certain percentage of new residential developments include mix of housing options, such as single-family homes, duplexes, townhomes, and apartments. And a strategy for that is to revise zoning regulations to allow for greater housing diversity, including higher density options. And so that's the chapter on population and housing. And there's a few more chapters that I'll go over. The next one, we have economy and fiscal health. That talks about the business composition and employment trends and fiscal challenges in town. And it addresses the fact that there's limited business space and that most residents commute to work, which often leads to reduced local spending. It also highlights areas of opportunities, such as the fact that it's near a tourist attractions that the town can capitalize on and promote economic development. It highlights the financial status of the population through the median income, poverty rate, and employment rate, as well as the presence of Alice families as households. It goes over the town's overall fiscal health, showing the need for broadening the tax base based on non-residential sectors. And the chapter has suggested goals and to strengthen the town's local economy and business environment. I'll mention that one that talks about reducing economic leakage or reduce spending and encourage residents and visitors to spend locally, which could be accomplished by implementing a Main Street improvement program to revitalize the area to attract businesses and tourists. The goals section also mentions partnering with Mount St. Mary's University to offer vocational and professional development programs that meet the needs of key sectors relevant to the town's needs. And one of those goals also calls for addressing the income inequality and support the needs of Alice households through increasing access to affordable and middle income housing units, which can be achieved by collaborating with developers who are looking to start residential development in town. Next, we have the environment and natural resources chapter, which focuses on waterways, vegetative buffers, unique landscapes, talks about the geography and how it influences the town's development, and touches upon groundwater resources, wetlands, floodplains, etc. It also mentions climate change and floodplain management and the town's efforts to control stormwater, and talks about green infrastructure like rain gardens and permeable pavements. And then the goals include working to ensure long-term ecological integrity and minimizing the environmental impact of development on ecosystems. And I have a couple more slides. The next chapter we have is the land use and community design, which talks about zoning patterns and land use patterns in town. And, you know, it's like different zones, residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, and breaks down how much of the town's area is designated for each zone. The most important part of this chapter is the growth boundary area and the growth opportunity area. So the last growth boundary area was adopted in 2021. And if you go to the next slide, there's a map. What you see here, the red line is the newly proposed growth boundary, which includes properties located northwest of the town's borders along Track Road and Route 140. So these are suggested to be included to address fragmented water and sewer service issues. Some of these properties are already connected to town's utilities while others are not. Since the town's code prohibits establishing utility connections outside of its jurisdiction, service cannot be extended unless these areas are annexed. So to make future annexation possible, these properties must be included into the town's growth boundary and would provide them opportunities for water and sewer connections. And about the growth opportunity area, which is in gray, it's a flexible way to allow growth, you know, because growth isn't always confined into like one town limits. It happens outside of town limits as well. But if there's unplanned growth that takes place and it can have benefits for the town, it could be like economic or residential development or any other infrastructure projects, but has benefits for the town. if they're incorporated, then this is one way the town can allow annexation of those areas without having to change the comprehensive plan over and over again. So, and then the growth opportunities areas, they're usually, they usually have constraints like physical constraints in topography or the county's easements, like agricultural easements. So it like naturally helps put like a boundary. And then the gray that you see, it extends from like quarter of a mile to a third of a mile. That's how farther out it is from the growth boundary. So that's part of the land use chapter. And the remaining sections we have are the transportation and community facilities. Those are in progress. And we're also working on the municipal growth, which will analyze the future growth and alignment with long-range vision. And it'll be based on population projections and the needs for land and infrastructure. And then there will be an implementation section that will discuss the metrics to measure the progress towards the goals that are mentioned throughout this entire document. If you have any questions on the content, let me know.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
Not on the actual content, but schedule wise for, I think you want to have another public meeting and then somewhere wrap up in the next 3, 4, 5 months or so.
That is right. Yeah. We're working on putting together a concrete schedule. I know the planning commission wanted to have it go out to public comment by March. So that is something we would like to do.
Commissioner Hagan?
I just want to say for Najil, after working on this for the last year, you've done an impressive job of working with the community and reaching out and with, members to try to answer questions and shepherd it all through. So you've done a great job.
Thank you.
I've only heard good things too. Everybody who went to those workshops said that you did a wonderful job. So thank you for the hard work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sweeney, did you have any?
No, I don't see any problems. She has done wonderful job.
Thank you.
I only know that I have a copy of the original, the 2015. I don't know if anybody else does.
We can make sure that everyone else.
You have one?
You do?
I
Okay.
don't, did I get?
Oh, because.
I have one.
I don't think I got, did I
No.
get? No, okay. I did not get one.
Oh,
I would-
yeah, the planning commission members, they all received one, so that's
Oh,
probably
that's-
why.
okay.
Commissioner, we can get you one.
Uh,
Yeah.
We can talk later. I don't want you to have to make another one if one doesn't exist. So I might just borrow one if need be.
Okay.
But please don't print anymore if they're going to be outdated soon.
Yeah. Junior bar mine, he told me one.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
In the workshop, are we looking as a town to become a Main Street, Maryland town to make it official moving?
Sustainable community, is that what it is?
Or, like Thurr Mountain has the Main Street program. Is that something we have a goal to aim towards as well?
Right, so from the public workshops, we gathered that people do want to attain that designation. And for economic development, that would be one step towards that.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Because I like how there's definitely thoughts about, targeting those vacant buildings or ones that have been left and they're dilapidated. So I know Thurmont received a lot of money towards their vacant buildings to incentivize businesses to come. So that would align nicely, I think, with targeting some of those buildings that could be turned into businesses. And then I saw here, support student housing by incentivizing property owners to create safe, livable residential units for Mount St. Mary's. Is that targeting the village zone, or is that because I would imagine the HOAs would have jurisdiction over that within subdivisions? So I was confused by that.
Okay. That can be clarified. So once these are done, they will be posted so that people can comment on it. So if it doesn't, it should apply to like the village zone or outside of village zone. That's something, you as a board or the public, they can all decide and
I see.
just incorporate that. Yeah.
I see. So, all right, so it's more, this is just, we're still in those, like, you're, okay, Commissioner Hoover, you're giving me this,
Zoning would dictate that, not
Okay.
necessarily village zone or HOAs, but zoning itself is
okay,
a multi-use or high density use.
okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have. Any other questions? This doesn't require a vote in any way, does it? This was just a presentation. Okay, all right, thank you very much. I know that your slideshow was a lot of work and you did a good job highlighting the differences in the updates, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to number 4, discussion related to FY25 water rates. We do have some information in our packet that was requested: water SIP breakdown, the fund breakdown, water revenue that we have as far as the project schedule. I don't, commissioners, don't know how you want to tackle this. Did you want us to go through the attached information, or are we ready to jump right into discussion?
Do notice on page 44 on the water fund, the CIP, that in page 45, the red didn't show up when it got copied. So just to note on FY26, where it says 159,790, and then all the way out to FY30, that's all in the red. That should have showed up red. And then the same thing for the total revenue from FY26 to 77,790 out to fiscal year 30. That's all red as well.
Where was the second one? I'm sorry. Under total revenue?
Total revenue.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. Thank you.
And then under
Kathy, can you say, so page 44,
page 44, if top row, cash reserves estimated, where you see FY26, 159,790.
Yep.
That's actually in the red.
okay,
And then it stays in the red through 27, 28, 29, and 30. And then if you drop down to the last row in that section under total revenue, it starts in the red at the 77,790 and carries out.
Mhm.
And then if you drop down to total cash available on the bottom of page 44, starting at 169.05 and out is red as well.
169. All the way down at the bottom in the
Yes,
bold?
where it says total cash available on page
Last line.
44.
Oh, okay.
And
it.
then on page 45, what am I at here? System upgrades. In the end of FY25, where it shows 159,790 red, and that all the way out then should be red, where it says surplus deficit.
Mm-hmm. Got
And
it.
that's it. I just want to point that out since it didn't show up in your packet.
Okay, thank you. Oh, no, need it back on again. Okay, where would we like to be in the discussion? Commissioner Hoover?
Sure. So Kathy, thanks for that clarification.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming then that they're in the red based on page 46 as projects being performed.
Right, so if you look, let me just jump up to the top here. So you start in the red at the top of page 44, the water fund, FY 26 at the negative 159,790.
Yes.
And that is because of all your system projects. It would be in FY 25, you'd have the clarifier completion. The completion date for the clarifier is October of 25. The North Seaton Avenue Waterline Project. Now that one's estimated because I don't know when it's actually going to start. And then the DePaul Street one, that with that project being complete in April of 25, all the money should be spent on the DePaul Street Waterline by the close of FY 25. Some of these other projects, the Rainbow Lake Pump House Bridge placement, that actually should be done by the end of the year. The Rainbow Lake Dam repairs or the Rainbow Lake repairs, we don't know the cost associated with that yet until we receive the final report in a couple of weeks. The initial report on the lead line service replacement is we are probably going to have to sample. So we had approximately 500 non-responses. And of those 500, we'll probably have to sample about 100. And the estimated cost for each to sample is about $700 each. So we're estimating about $70,000 to perform what MDE requires to show what the lines are.
When you say sample, do you mean going because they didn't respond via the survey?
So the verification is twofold.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people responded by the survey, but didn't do the photograph. Some of them we were able to verify based off the survey and plans, but there are some that no, absolutely no response given, and there's no second form of verification. So there's two options to verify. You can excavate, which means digging up yards, digging up sidewalks, digging up roads, and then you have to restore. That cost is estimated to be more than $700. Staff went and watched a demo where they can go in with a camera and it can camera the line, and you can basically kill two birds with one stone. You can see the service line and our line. So if you remember your sewer line, the town has a portion up the initial portion, and then you have your service line. But anyway, so it's estimated about $700 each. And if we have to sample 100, you're at $70,000 on that. And then there are requirements to replace. So we know of 2 lead lines so far and approximately 13. Is it non-galvanized or galvanized? I can't remember. Galvanized. So a galvanized has to be replaced as well. And I believe as of right now, there's 13. So that's at least 15 that are going to have to be replaced. And we'll start looking for funding on that. We have a meeting coming up. Anyway, that's how you get to the negative, Commissioner Hoover, is taking all the revenue that we've received for the projects and then backing out the cost of the projects. The timing could be off a little bit with the North Seaton water line. We have incurred some expense on the engineering side. Nothing on the construction side yet. That's hoping to go out to bid within the next couple of months. We are looking for funding right now for the West Main Street water line and the Waynesboro Pike water line. That just went out to bid for engineering cost because we have fixed an enormous amount of leaks on West Main and Waynesboro. the mayor would like us to look at a bond initiative for that project through the state of Maryland for that one.
Going back to the lead line, the requirement to replace that falls on the town.
We're still working through that. Anything that's town line would be our responsibility. I reached out to our consultant to give me if they were aware of any funding options. You know, the cost to fix your line, depending on how long your line is going to be a huge burden on our residents, and hopefully the town can secure some funding to assist with that. But we're right in the beginning stages right now. You do have until 2030. You have till 2030 to make all the necessary replacements.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The 500 that has not received, were they all over the town or just in the old part of the town?
All over. All over.
Because
Mhm.
when you do North Seaton, you'll be able to see when they replace the line, they'll be able to see if it's galvanized or not.
Correct. Yes.
And DePaul Street, you should be able to see now when they redo theirs.
Right.
So are they going to replace them as they go or to copper?
So
Up to
they're
the town's
just
part?
replacing the main on
Up to the
DePaul
town's
Street right
part.
now.
Oh, okay.
Right. Mhm.
But you'll know, you'll mark down which ones are.
I believe they're doing that. I believe they were looking at the service lines as they're going through.
Right.
It's my understanding, but I can find out for sure.
I know mine on North Seaton was galvanized. I had it replaced with copper completely out to the town's
Right.
curb stop. And
Right.
it was galvanized 3/4. It was no bigger than my pinky and you couldn't even see through it. So I can imagine the other old houses are
Mhm.
through there.
Yeah.
So on page 44, Ms. Willetts, where it says cash reserves estimated. Does this take into account our current water rate increase the way it stands now?
The cash reserves, yes.
So even if we keep it 36% for 5 years, potentially, we're still in the red.
Actually, I need to ask that question because I'm not, let me go back through my budget and make sure that that's correct.
Because that's a important piece of information, but also this also assumes we don't get funding, correct, on these projects? Like
No, this
is-
does include your funding for the clarifier, the North Seaton Avenue line project. It does include any funding we've already received.
Right, but not
only thing-
future funding, right?
Right, it does not include any funding for the West Main Street water line or the line down the mountain. Any future projects that we haven't submitted for, no, it does not.
Right,
It only does, I believe, North Seaton, DePaul Street, and our ARPA projects.
Mhm. Yeah, and you can see our tap fees on that second line, how important our tap fees play into our reserves, our cash reserves.
That's correct.
And that assumes that, the 41,000 each year, those are just estimates based on what's coming down the pipe through potential annexation.
Yeah, so what we do is we work with Nigelia on any development projects she might have in the pipeline and try to estimate what we will get in that fiscal year.
Mhm.
So this fiscal year, we estimated from 2 development projects that we knew of, and that would have been Christ Community Church and possibly the distillery.
So if tap fees. I feel like that should be higher. How many households would that then incorporate into that estimate?
So 82,000 is 10 taps. Right. Yeah. 10
So
taps.
we're assuming maybe 5 taps between FY 27 and FY 30.
Yeah, so
Per year.
per year. So each year we estimated that many, just because we don't know.
Right.
That we have nothing concrete outside of,
Good, safe number.
right, the distillery and Christ Community Church right now.
Right. But if there is an annexation or
Mhm.
the Fraley Farm development that's being looked at, I saw it within the meetings that you're having, is that's for the part that's already annexed in? Or is that in addition to
It's both.
both?
Both the annexation or the part that's already in town as well as a part that would be annexed.
Mhm.
You also have the potential of Emmett Ridge.
I think that's probably your best and only potential within FY 35 timeframe. Other than the two, like you said,
Yeah.
the church and the distillery.
Mhm.
Time you get fairly ready to start buying taps, I think you'll be very close or beyond the FY 30.
Okay.
You might have Emmett Ridge.
I think you're definitely, well,
Yeah, you should have it.
At least a couple out of
If they
there.
move forward, you would have Emmett Ridge within that time frame. But we just don't know, so that's why it's not on there.
Sure.
the final few at Southgate and the final few at Brookfield,
We have
maybe.
10 in Brookfield.
Are we down to 2 in Southgate? Do we, I thought there was another one that sold. I just don't know which one, but
But
is that
selling is not necessarily buying the tap.
correct.
By the time they get their permits and this, and that,
Right.
whatever, you could be another year or so down the road for that.
Correct.
And that's why I say Fraley, you're probably 4 or 5 years before they're anywhere close to a grant, to a building permit.
Okay.
You think? You agree?
Mhm.
So I think your only one really is going to be your Emmett Ridge as far as new development in this timeframe.
Okay.
Onesie, twosie here, may, whatever, but,
Understood.
and I think that's only 30 or 20 couple, whatever, Emmett Ridge,
40,
40.
48.
48.
The other thing that it doesn't, under debt service, we don't have the debt service listed of whatever will be incurred for never mind, I take that back. There are no loans with DePaul Street, so I take that back. We don't know what the loans will be for North Seaton project.
I guess I keep going back to if we're in the red as of FY 26, but we don't know if this incorporates our current 36% increase.
So your 36% increase affects your water fund, your operating fund.
Mhm.
And then any cash reserve that would be left from fiscal year, end of fiscal year into the next one, that would be added to your cash reserves. So the initial 36% is in here for your FY 24 and FY 25.
Mhm.
FY 25, excuse me. But then the cash will accumulate if you have money left over at the end of your fiscal year. So that's how it affects your cash reserves. So
Which we don't really have cash reserves right now, do we? We kind of like transfer them all at the end.
so for your water fund, you do have cash reserves. You have cash reserves in your water fund of roughly 2.6 million.
And that's
However, remembering 2.5 of that is ARPA money
right.
that will be spent by the end of calendar year 25.
Right.
And what's that allocated for? What project is that allocated?
So the majority of it goes to your water clarifier.
Mhm.
That was, let me pull my chart up. I can tell you. Hold on, computer's jumping on me.
Okay.
Hold on. So the majority of your ARPA money goes to the clarifier, which was roughly 2.1 million, 412,000 to the DePaul Street water line. 300,000 went to revenue replacement in FY 24 for water operating expenses. 160 replaced the Rainbow Lake Bridge. 148,000 for the backwash project at the water treatment plant, and 73,000 for the Rainbow Lake dam engineer.
I think that's why, I mean, looking at this, even if we keep 36%, looks like we might as well just get absorbed into Frederick County. I mean, there's no way that people in Emmitsburg are going to be able to foot this bill. So, and should they be expected to if it's an unattainable goal?
So
So where I'm going with this is there are other things that I think we need to be looking at as well. Like historically, we've, as a town, made a lot of concessions for businesses that came in, including maybe lowering tap fees, not raising impact fees that in general. We need to go back and look at that. But while I understand and appreciate that we want to bring businesses and developments here, I don't think we should be making concessions that are then going to hurt our bottom line and it's going to put the burden back on our residents. So, thoughts, questions?
I would just agree with you. It's like that loss. We can't push it back. We already have a lot of residents having problems with the increase we have now. To increase it now would push it over the edge.
Right.
the bottom line, Commissioner Bowman, is you need growth and you need your tap fees. And that's the only way it's going to continue to grow. You're right. You can't raise the rates high enough to do all the projects that need to be done for some of these infrastructure projects that just have to be done. And, or you're going to continue to waste money, just continuing to put Band-Aids on it. And we continue to continue to look for the funding for them, through grants, hopefully. But the bottom line is, you're right. You need growth. And the tap fees, whether you raise them or not, are very important to your water fund, because the cost, and as we all know, the cost of everything it's skyrocketing.
Right.
And, looking at the numbers and talking it over with Mayor Davis, who I think is still on the call. I honestly think you need, we ran some numbers and, honestly think if you keep it at the 36% through the rest of this fiscal year and then reduce it to something much more manageable for people, I think you'll be in a much better position. And that will give time for hopefully some of these developments to at least get the ball rolling and come to fruition. And that will help us plan a lot better. There's certain projects on the CIP that can be put on hold, like the water meter upgrade project. It would be fantastic for the town, and I think it's a great project, but in the long run,
It's a want.
it's a want. It will help us with water loss and managing leaks and people knowing when they have high usage, but it is a want. And it's a bells and whistles project that is probably further down the road. And you've heard Mayor Davis say it, these federal and state mandates are killing small towns, the MS4, the lead line service inventory, the dam inspection, they're all unexpected costs that you can't really plan for. And we keep waiting for what's next.
Well, I would agree with what you said a minute ago, is that, the 36%, I would actually agree. I had a little discussion that carrying the 36%, we already have it this year, leave it alone. But I think, then next year where we have it for a 5-year plan, I can't foresee us carrying that through. After this year, I think we should stop it and then probably go more to I think in the current ordinance is a mandated 3%. My opinion, that is, I don't know, there should be I don't agree there should be a mandated, but I do think there should be a mandated annually review and verify, kind of like we do our taxes. Taxes are mandated every year that you review them and you make a determination. I'm going to raise them. I'm not going to raise them. I'm going to reduce them, or whatever it is may be. And I think that should be a mandate annually that's done. And I think then the rate to be increased or not, the commissioners had to make a decision to raise it or not raise it. And if they raise it to not exceed the CPI of that year. I sort of said that once before, but I said, we would try to cut back this year, but I got the numbers that staff provided me with. And based on that, in FY23, before we done an increase, we brought in $435,000 in change. And then FY24, we brought in after the first increase, brought in 628,000. And we're on target now, assuming with 36% of that, you'd bring in 855, which is almost double
Right.
prior to the tax. And from an operating perspective, I think for operating wise, that should be suffice. Now, I think also additionally, we need to come back and look at, you see in the paper that we have in our last page, page 48, well, page 48 to 49. Depreciation is 48 to 49. Yeah, the depreciation cost in there, which is just government paper money that doesn't exist. That's that depreciation fund of 668,000 in FY 23 and 804,000 in FY 24. That's monies that's costing all these projects, you know, where everything's depreciated, but that depreciation is not being funded. And many years ago, we had a funding source for that. And I think rather than doing the 36% increase, I think we should be looking at, do we need to establish a funding source, or does the operating money with the new rates, the current new rates, is there sufficient there to create a funding source for depreciation? So when things do fail, we have more money available. And I realize if the depreciation fund may be another cost somewhere down the road, this year, next year, the following year somewhere. But I think the depreciation of the equipment in both sewer and water, but we're only talking about water right now, should be what's looked at next. And to find out where does that money come from, and how do we get ahead of it instead of like we are now, behind it, way behind it. But I would agree that I think, you know, if we follow out through this year, we do not do any more substantial increases of 36%, and then come to a conclusion, an ordinance to revamp that remaining 3 years to be just CPI or something of that, in my opinion, that neighborhood.
And then it comes
And then
back
agree
every
to
year.
establish a funding source for
Funding source.
depreciation, as I said, and
You could do it similar to what you do for your budget meetings, how you have a set second meeting of May is always your budget meeting solely. You could determine what month in every year that you want to hold a water rate only second meeting to set your rates. It can be a public hearing, and then you can set your rates, and that way it's consistent. You do it every probably February or March, so that
Yes.
then we have the information for the budget going forward, and you revisit it every year.
I
And then you
agree.
stay on top of it, and then we won't get into this
A
position.
gigantic
again.
mess.
It won't be, yes.
Not blaming nobody. I'm not blaming nobody. I'm not.
No,
Just
it's, I
just to
mean,
be clear, I'm just, it's not where this is where we're at. So we
Right.
gotta do whatever we gotta do to get out of it. But, so, and then, but whatever we do, we gotta look at for what's it gonna do for the next 20, 30, 50 years from now, that
Right.
we're not, the next group of people sitting up here aren't stuck with the same nonsense.
right. And I think there's other things that we can look at that may not be pertinent to the discussion tonight, but like you said, like looking at our connection fees, and be cognizant when businesses and developers come into town that we're not making such a wonderful deal to make it attractive for them. That's going to put the burden back on our residents to pick up the slack, because residents or businesses that are coming into town are buying into an existing water system that right now is only shared by not a lot of people. And so I think we need to be cognizant of the town moving forward with that. I like the idea of ride out the 36% or until the end of this year, because we're already halfway through I mean, by the time we make it
By the time we get another ordinance, it will be January, February to get one passed
right.
to change it. So I think the rate is set. The money, there is monies that's needed, but take the big burden. We got the burden. It's already here. Live with what we've done
Mm-hmm,
and accept it, but not do any more
mm-hmm.
substantial increases is my, but like I say, at the same time, start looking for a depreciation funding source. How do we make that happen?
Okay.
And what is depreciation? What are we funding with that?
Okay.
make sure that's established as well, that your operating money that we get with this money that we're talking about, to me, is operating. So it's like your day-to-day stuff, fixing a leak or repairing a minor stuff or whatever, but new water lines, new pumps and new equipment, even new vehicles and trucks. So that's depreciation, all that's got a depreciation fund to it.
Right.
I agree to keep it to 36 to the end of the year.
Do they, can you say that louder in the microphone?
I want to keep it at 36% to the end of this year, and then we'll go and revisit it every year after that.
Yeah, I think the idea that we make it, scheduled every year to that is ideal going forward. And the only other question I had, you mentioned that there could be some grants or anything out there. With us continuing to run and increasing the loss, does that limit our ability to get grants or have an impact on it?
So USDA looks at your rates to see if they're competitive with, or not competitive, that one, you're self-sustaining, but two, that similar systems have about the similar rates. So they're not subsidizing some municipality that's can't pay for their own bills. We've shown great effort to raise our rates and to make leaps in the right direction. I don't foresee it being an issue with USDA. We talked to them quite a bit about it. We're going to be testing the waters with them here fairly soon on another project, but I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a problem as long as we're showing, and this is what they told me, a good faith effort that you are moving in the right direction, that you're just not sitting there and doing nothing.
But also, let me understand correctly, the deficits that we show here, the projected deficits, other than the grants that we already have, it doesn't have anything that it takes in consideration that grants, not loans, but grants will be provided. And the likelihood of that is pretty good odds that some or all of them projects will get some sort of funding.
Right. So like the DePaul Street one, because of ARPA, that is all solely grant funded and ARPA funded. So that's when the project's done, we don't have any loans to pay back.
And ARPA's now gone after this,
Huh?
right? Is ARPA now gone after this completely?
Yeah.
Once we spend this,
Yep,
whatever
we're
lump
done.
it was,
Yes.
there's no future ARPA money. is what I'm trying to
Not that
say.
I've heard.
Not, that's,
I wouldn't think so.
um, so while the deficits that we see or the projected deficits is the worst case scenario.
Probably.
Yeah. But so USDA and other folks won't see that much of a deficit, most likely. Some deficit maybe.
Right.
But also the likelihood of doing all these projects in this time frame was going to be damn hard.
Right.
It'll take a while to get them all lined up and scheduled and in place so to get it between
Right.
now and FY 30, maybe between now and FY 33, 34, 35, probably be more.
Well, unfortunately, you look at the pump station.
But you
I
gotta
think
start somewhere.
Maddie and I started that in 2018 and here we are.
So I say you gotta
Completion is
start
not going to be
sooner,
till
maybe.
2025. Now, the
Yeah.
DePaul Street, that one moved fairly quickly, but the other ones, they don't, then that's why we keep planning for them, because they do take a long time to come, to actually happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And those timelines, they're estimates on when things are going to be completed and when the money's going to be spent. We know it's going to be spent,
Mhm,
which timing, that's a little different.
mhm.
And the one thing, it was mentioned here before, but one thing, just a reminder about it. If we do any annexations, there's an opportunity to,
Mhm.
it's going to cost you to come to town.
Correct.
Don't mean to put it bluntly, but it's going to cost you to come to town.
Well, and I think it should cost to
Well-
come to town because honestly, everything's
We can't
going
afford
north,
otherwise.
right?
So we
We-
can't bring somebody to town, into the town
And exacerbate the problem.
and make the problem worse without making them a part of the solution, not a bigger part of the problem.
Correct. Right. Additional comments? Do we want to give direction? Because this was just discussion as far as, what we might want to see.
I think we did agree, all of us, 36% would stay.
I just want to clarify it because we
Throughout-
kind of,
For this year, throughout this year, the FY,
Through FY 25.
and then after that,
uh,
so do we want to bring back,
we're gonna need an amended ordinance.
right?
But we're gonna need that between now and about May.
So for
Finalized.
budget purposes, we typically really start diving into the budget March 1. So my recommendation would be any decision you want to make on water rates would need to be done no later than the end of March. So we have time to really work the numbers.
So we need to schedule a second meeting for March already.
So you
then
could
we'll
do a
have it on
second
the roll.
meeting in March or a second meeting in,
We're gonna do it sooner than that because we're gonna see a
February.
draft. We're gonna see a draft before we
Right.
say
right.
we're short on time.
So,
Right.
So I also would want to think, let me add something to it before I forget it. If we're gonna review the rates, I also think, it's not raise everything or raise nothing. I think we should, allow it to be, we're raising just the consumption rate or just the meter rate or both.
you
And
could
that
look,
be, and that be both in water and sewer.
Right.
you could look at your basic rate, your
So,
ready to serve rates.
Yeah,
And you can also look at your overage rates.
right. But it's just that I don't want to make it to where it's
One or the other.
all or none.
Yeah, all or nothing.
It's
We
just
should
where
have flexibility.
we can adjust just the. like
So
you
if you're
said,
gonna look
ready
at all
serve.
that, I think you need to start in February.
So maybe we can bring Clark or somebody in to say,
Mhm.
I don't know, have a discussion so they can come back with a draft ordinance or something.
So we don't have to give guidance as far as what we'd like to see yet until February. I mean, like we kind
I
of
think we're-
hashed it
I
out,
think we're kind
a
of
rough draft,
Yeah.
but
I think we're
do we
kinda
have
giving-
to give direction and say to work on it in the meantime? That's all I'm asking.
I mean, that's the overall. is
You could
to-
even start with your discussion in January. You could have it a discussion, give direction, and then come back with something to really work on meat and potatoes in February.
Mhm.
I think we should just
I'm good
have
with
the
that.
water done by itself, not schedule other things with it, get it all
Mhm.
done,
Mhm.
taken
Right.
care of.
Yeah.
Kind of like you do for the budget.
Yeah. I mean, because the second meeting should go quickly if we already have a rough draft. But then I guess that's with Clark there.
You would need a public hearing then
Right,
Yeah.
before you actually adopt it,
right,
But not for the drafts,
not for the draft.
not to
Not for
establish the
discussion.
draft and discussion, no,
Right.
right.
just the final.
Okay.
So then we want to just get direction, then it says to schedule for a mid-month workshop in January to discuss water rates based off the discussion we had tonight.
Yes.
Tuesdays if we can.
Tuesdays. Yeah.
What do you say?
Avoid
Any
the-
day but Monday.
not the third
Not the third
Monday.
Monday.
This we know.
Please.
All right. Ms. Willis, did you have enough
I
direction
do.
based on that? Okay. All right. Any further comments?
No.
Questions? No? All right. Then we don't need to vote on that because we're just giving guidance and consensus. So, correct? No voting. We're good. All right. I lost my flow. Yeah, but I took the, there it is.
And your December meeting is going to be on Tuesday, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Like I
Um,
say, I don't think I'm going to be, it's possible I may Zoom in, but reception where I'm going is not very good. Trust me.
So we're going to set the agenda for December
You actually, are you still gonna have your November 18th
workshop.
workshop at 6:30 PM? Oh, you weren't here. Yes. That was the mayor's idea. First item was discussion related to ordinance 2409, amending town code to allow and establish requirements for student housing. And then number 2 was discussion related to ordinance 24-10, amending town code to establish a rental registration program.
Right. We wanted to workshop it.
And I believe your applicant and his attorney will be here again, as well as Ms. Powell. It's just discussion. Right.
Okay.
And that is a Monday.
That is a Monday. It's not the third Monday though, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have anything.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You
The
you were
meeting
off
is
that day.
canceled already.
Remember, he made us jump through hoops
Oh,
trying to pick a
gosh.
date.
Yes, and I was so scarred by
I'll
not
let you
the
know
third
ahead of time
Monday.
if the meeting gets canceled. That helps me out too, so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that works. And then December meeting, do we have?
Okay, so then December 3rd, town meeting. Administrative business will be an update on the lead line service inventory project. I will have final numbers and letters have to go out by November 15th, and we'll have some more updates by then. For consent agenda, for consideration, reappoint Jack Pollitt to Parks and Recreation Committee with a term of December 2nd, 2024 to December 2nd, 2026. And then I have 5 agenda items. Number 1 would be review and approval of design bid for the West Main Street and Waynesboro Pike Waterline Replacement Project for consideration. Number 2 would be for consideration, approve or reject the request from Mr. Robert A. Fritz Jr. to acquire a right-of-way for the town's property on Hampton Valley Road. Number 3, for consideration, approval of resolution 2024-07R, non-residential payment plan for water and sewer connection fees. Number 4, for consideration, approval of resolution 2024-08R, nonprofit payment plan for water and sewer connection fees. And then number 5, for consideration, approval of bid for the town of Emmitsburg sewer line camera project.
Okay. Okay.
And I know we discussed a workshop in December for the FY24 audit presentation and the discussion related to water and sewer connection fees. And speaking with the auditors, they are available on the 9th,
Oh, gosh, that's a
9th of
long
what?
week.
December,
So between tree lighting, a regular town
it's
meeting. and-
Monday.
Oh, my goodness.
That is completely up to you guys.
Oh, it sounded like a good idea at the time, but December's busy. Do we have to
I-
have this workshop for the auditors?
I can push them till January. But typically when they come,
In January?
they come in January.
Commissioner Hoover, I know you were out. We were talking about that second meeting in December, and you said it was for presentation for the auditors. And then we were gonna potentially look at
Water and sewer connection fee.
connection fees. I'm thinking it sounded good at the time, and now it doesn't sound so good because they can only meet on December 9th, which would put like tree lighting, regular town meeting, and the workshop like in the span of 7 days.
And it's a holiday month.
I would like to postpone. Thoughts? We're gonna meet at 4:30 now. AM.
January's fine with me for the audit.
Thank you. Commissioner Hagan,
Yeah, I'd go to January.
Okay.
Commissioner Hoover, you want to push through December and do December 9th? I want to hear it from your lips. Is that what you want?
Works for me. I'm not gonna be here December 3rd.
Oh my God, here we go. Let's postpone until January, please.
Works for me.
All right. All right. Thank you. Do we have to vote on to accept the agenda? I think we already did once, but do we vote again to accept the agenda for December 3rd?
Oh, you haven't done December 3rd yet,
Wait, what did we just do?
or did you? I don't think you approved the agenda, did you? For December 3rd?
No, we did not.
Okay.
No, we
You
didn't.
did the
approve it.
workshop on the 18th though.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So is there a motion to approve the agenda for December 3rd?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-1 absent. And with that, we come to a close. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Further discussion? I can't imagine. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-1 absent. And the meeting is adjourned at 8:57 PM. Thank you, everyone.